But so it is. Here we gather tonight, and looking forward to Darcy Davis as she checks in from Arizona and the warmth, at least a little bit warmer than it is in Michigan. Coptic minister, ordained in 2008, teacher, musician, and life coach, combining her study of world philosophies, Coptic training, and practices of mind, body, and spirit connection. Darcy teaches the invisible side of success in alignment with the universal laws. For over 30 years, she has worked as a teacher, speaker, workshop leader, and singer. She currently teaches music, choir, and musical theater to 3rd through 8th graders in Arizona. Whether teaching or coaching, she empowers others to manifest their dreams through transformative thinking and decisive action. Darcy's experiential, fun teaching style invites people to ignite their passion and power and purposeful living. And we look forward to her topic tonight. It's the power to be.
I'm here to talk to you about the power to be. So this goes very, very much in speaking with what Hamid's words were. I believe that the power to be is kindled from within, a spark that is planted in the heart to be nurtured and strengthened through our connection with God and the collective divine consciousness. The power to be stems from beingness. I didn't really think that beingness was an actual word, but I was wrong. Webster's writes that it is the quality, state, or condition of having existence. Therein lies the goal, actualizing the power to live with the condition of having existence. It's living on purpose with the quality we all possess, the essence of which each of us claims and knows. I am. There is nothing that is separate from beingness, for this is the nature of being. It is pure consciousness, self-aware and celebrating the connectivity and oneness of us all. Wow, I know that's a lot. And yet it is within that core of who, what, and how we are here on this life journey. Our inside journey and our outside life experiences. We are elegantly made and wrapped in mystery, and yet the gift and task at hand is to simply be. You may be smiling when you hear this, or may even questioning me. Is there anything simple about being? Darcy, this life of mine is anything but simple. Trust me, I get what you mean. There is some truth to how we characterize our lives. Outer appearances will argue with us that it's tough to just be. Currently, we're living through a global pandemic. We know people, or maybe personally experiencing economic difficulties. Headlines scream for our attention and disturb our thoughts, and beg us to look at them instead of a calm and orderly existence. And yet, these are all great reasons why it is so very important for us to embrace this power and become more self-aware as we accept our spiritual responsibility. We live in a world of duality. As long as we have life, there will be mountains to climb and problems to solve. If I've learned anything from politics and the former administration, half-truths and lies do not serve the higher good. So why would we do the same to ourselves? Allowing the self-talk to take charge of our lives, our dreams, our spiritual growth. You know which voice I'm talking about. Not the still small voice of spirit, but the voice within that might sound a little bit like your great Aunt Ethel. The voice that sprinkles seeds of doubt on your path when you're trying to develop new, empowering habits, thoughts, and actions. Connect with the loving voice of wisdom. Resist the lure of the familiar, the status quo. Don't accept the breadcrumbs scattered on the worn-out path of yesterday when there is something calling you to your own personal greatness. Sometimes the easiest thing is to settle for the path you know, or settle in for another Netflix binge, instead of treading optimistically through the tall, wet grass or snow that leads you off the well-worn path of mediocrity. It may be flawed and familiar, but it's the path you know. I'd like to share with you some simple, practical steps to ignite that power of being, to stay in the practice of connection. In my thinking, awareness is the first step in any endeavor. If we aren't aware of a concept or idea, it's not likely to show up in our radar. Thich Nhat Hanh said, awareness is like the sun. When it shines on things, you are transformed. Think of the time when you purchased a new car. All of a sudden, you see that same car in the same color and the same model driving all over the place. That car is now in your orbit. Those cars have been on the road all along, all around you, but until you became more aware of that make and model by getting your own, you just didn't notice how many were out there. When we become aware, it's as though the bright light of truth is illumined. We literally see things in a new light, from a new perspective. We become enlightened. As soon as I chose this topic, I brought a broader awareness into my consciousness. Soon all sorts of opportunities to experience beingness were dropped into my path. As you know, I am a music teacher who's been teaching in person now since August during a pandemic. Every day I must step into my power of beingness to stay centered while I do my job. That plays out for me in a variety of ways during my working day, and it brings me to the next step of being. Decide. Emerson says, the only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. I have decided that I'm happiest at school when I decide I'm going to have fun with my students. Spirit loves a good time, so I've decided to have more fun with the kids, allowing them to see that playful and sometimes silly side of me. I know I learn better when I'm enjoying myself, so I trust that keeping things lighter in class is enhancing their learning. It sounds so simple in theory, but it's not always easy. I need to keep that decision in the front of my awareness because life happens. There are distractions like, lesson plans, teacher meetings, people testing positive for the virus. The word decide comes from the Latin decadere, which means to cut off from. When you or I make a decision, we then cut away the other possibilities and then land on what it is that we desire. Michelangelo was once asked how he was able to look at a slab of marble to create the great sculpture, David. Michelangelo said, I chisel away anything that is not the David. When we make a decision to step into our power, we are refining what it is we desire in our lives. Hamid Bey described desire as the promoting factor which causes energy to flow, to move, to create. He said all our sincere desires should be motivated from a spiritual viewpoint and expanded from there, as our purpose in life is to find the inner expression of our soul. In my mind, this blends beautifully with the living from the power of our beingness. Our power of being guides us to better know that we need to let go of some things, which could include activities, possessions, and even people. For me, I decide to show up for the kids, and it turns my day into a much brighter, happier experience, one in which we can find a lot of fun along the way. Eckhart Tolle put it this way: that is the real spiritual awakening, when something emerges from within you that is deeper than who you thought you were. So the person is still there, but one could almost say that something more powerful shines through the person. When awareness leads to deciding to align with the power of beingness, then you know you're on the right path. So how might you know what it is that is trying to come forth through you? I believe that we are each connected to the whole. The universal web of life weaves a tapestry of love and truth. Together and sprinkled with that rainbow of diversity and the unique gifts of all of us, yet it is finely stitched with the strength of our oneness. Deciding to step into our belonging, our beingness, is a choice. At any given time, we have a choice as to whether or not we're going to lean into our greatness and genius, or if we're going to sit this one out. This is when spiritual grit comes into play. That level of responsibility to our own soul journey. This is when we are called upon to push past our level of comfort and let ourselves be. This is the time that when we are to place more trust in God than in our fear of failure or getting it wrong, or when we are just plain out of stamina. We know that everything changes eventually, and thank God for that. Or think how boring this life would be. But we can choose to weather the changes with more grace and dignity through the power of our being. If you're anything like me, you have been disappointed by the actions and decisions of those around you at times. It's probably safe to say that, like me, you found yourself being stuck in the mires of the mind, overthinking, stinking thinking, paralysis of analysis. Sound familiar? Perhaps like you, it's become clear to me that my brain has its limits. Ha! Who knew? My nature is to think about it, whatever it is. But over time, I have found much more success when I lead with my heart, and my heart is directly in step with my beingness. I have long stood on an affirmation based on a quote by Rumi, and it has now become my motto. Life is rigged in my favor, and everything works out for me. This is part of how I power up my beingness. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen evidence of this in my life, even times when it seemed there would be no way out or around a circumstance. Remembering the truth has framed it in a way that showed me possibilities and miracles. Saying this affirmation also reminds me that even though something didn't work out the way I expected, there's a very good reason that it is better in the long run. That helps me release that disappointment quicker, anticipating a better outcome. These statements have become my ultimate affirmations of trust. We may find that bumps on the path challenge our egos, but it doesn't have to detour us from our destinies. Universal power is absolute because its foundation is love. Our beingness is bathed in love. Appearances may change, but that underlying pulse of the divine does not. It's constant. It radiates out to you and through all of us, if we allow it. Yes, it takes trust on our part, but trusting in the all-beingness of life is different than trusting people who sometimes without intention can break our trust. I've learned over the years to continually put my trust in God, not people. The humans around me are lovely, and yes, I adore them. Most of them are well-intended, but they are still human. They are not my God, my sacred compass, and my guide. I am happier and less anxious when I remind myself that God is leading me on my path. When I make choices based on trusting my sacred heart and gain a broader perspective, I'm in the power of my beingness. I do realize that believing in an infinite power of love and beingness doesn't mean that I will always get everything I want or think I need, or in the way or form that I think it should come. Many years ago, I came to the realization that I was asking something of God, sometimes pleading with God to give me answers, and often feeling disappointed that I couldn't seem to see the answers that I wanted. But over time, it occurred to me that while God was pointing at the answer, I was looking at the end of his finger instead of turning around and looking in the direction in which he pointed. Oh my gosh, it was like I needed a different perspective, to try on a different way to solve a problem instead of trying to come from that same energy in which I created the problem to begin with. It was a fresh look. And God was not just answering, he was showing the way. But I needed to turn on those spirit eyes and see from a different perspective, from a higher mind. After time, I practiced more forgiveness of self and circumstances, and eventually I was able to see how those detours that I experienced served a bigger piece of my evolution. As I said before, there is always a choice. I have chosen to live in a world where miracles around are abounding at all times. And it can be as simple as giving myself the gift of forgiveness for the sake of my soul journey. I encourage you to choose in favor of you, the true essence of you, the authentic you, the you that creates what your heart desires, the you that transforms a space with your art or your music, the you that writes books or private poems never shared, the you that makes others smile or serves up jokes or a home-cooked meal. Claim your beingness and grandly choose to ignite the flame of what you bring to life for you and for others. Awareness of something greater leads to deciding to step into your power of beingness by making choices that expand your talents, serve your vision and dreams, and define your purpose in life. These steps are critical and necessary, but they are consistently being brought into this world only through your commitment. We want people and circumstances to commit to us, but how often do we break commitments to ourselves? I think that's why promises are so heartbreaking for me. I know how many times in the past I've broken those vows to myself. It becomes compounded when others then disappoint and show us a side of their undependability. And then it shines that spotlight on the times when we ourselves have let ourselves down with a wavering, inconsistent commitment. Commitment is crucial. W.H. Murray was a Scottish mountaineer in the 20th century, and for 3 years, he survived near starvation in a World War II POW camp. And yet he had this desire to write about his experiences as a mountaineer, a mountain climber. And he began to write on the only paper available to him, which was toilet paper. And although the writing was found more than once and destroyed by his captors, to the amazement of his prisoners, he kept on beginning again and writing. After the war, he wrote 16 distinctive works. This is what he had to say about commitment. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from that decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamed would have come his way. I learned a deep respect for one of Goethe's couplets. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. When you commit to an endeavor, the universe cannot help but conspire with you to bring it into fruition. This is when you see that evidence of how life is rigged in your favor. The power to be is asking more of us, and we need to be willing to broaden our horizons in service of our evolution. We need to be willing to commit to that greater version of ourselves, the image of what God sees in us, a reflection of the divine that is waiting for the chance to express through each and every one of us. That is the power of being. I want to take a moment and share with you an exercise that has been transformative for me many times, and I invite you to try it for yourself. It's a writing exercise in which I write from the essence of my future higher self. Since spirit knows no time, this is a powerful exercise to reclaim beingness. And I'd like to share with you what came through when I did this practice. Darcy, dear one, breathe with me and let us remember that we are one. I am here to tell you that all works out in your favor. You need not wish pockets of time away. Savor the moments because this is your life. Live it fully. Live it on purpose. Seize opportunities when they present themselves, but know that if you need to let one pass, rest assured that there will be more chances, more ideas, more possibilities. Time is on your side. I delight in you, your passion, your mind, your humor, your heart. You make me proud. You are capable and talented, and even when you doubt, you have demonstrated over and over that you will prevail. Your efforts serve us well now and in the future. Staying grateful has colored our world, and you have raised our vibrational field, sprinkling our days with appreciation and love. When you stop and pay attention to the little things on your path, you invoke the sacred that is where many of our miracles have manifested. You always say the little things are the big things, and it is so true now and in the future. I am proof that the greatness in you prevails. I am writing to remind you that your dreams are golden and worth the realization. Connect with your inner power and grace daily, and you will better see the yellow brick road. You will hear the rhythm of your song as it hums constantly with your heartbeat. You like to say, listen to your heart and use your imagination. That has served you well. It has served us both. Know that while you have breath, you still have dreams and purpose and meaning, all of it. Every decision, choice, action, and detour have brought you to this moment. It is all our song. It's all part of our becoming, our legacy. So feel my love for you as I honor your journey, your path, our sympathy, our symphony. Know that I can't help but have your back, for we are one. So if you are so moved, I suggest that you try this exercise for yourself and see what blessings your future self has to impart to you. The power to be is already a part of you. Step into that awareness and see how many ways beingness is already showing up in your life. decide for you. You already know what is best for you, so decide to move in that direction. Choose carefully with clarity. Know that your best choices are only a heartbeat away. Trust yourself that your decisions and choices are divinely inspired by your dreams and the Most High. Then commit. Commit to cultivating your power of being. Create a plan to support your beingness. Surround yourself with people that believe in you and stand on your commitments to follow through for you, because you are so worth it. As it was once sung by one of my favorite bards, John Denver, I want to live, I want to grow, I want to see, I want to know, I want to share what I can give, I want to be, I want to live. This is the advanced learning. Show up for yourself, and you will easily see how the universe shows up for you, fanning the flames of your desires and dreams and igniting the power of your being. Thank you.
Bravo, Darcy. Thank you so much. Inspiring, and you're always so encouraging to have us spread our wings and reach for the highest good, all of ourselves. So it's wonderful, and you've done that to me individually, and you expressed it to everyone tonight. And stepping aside and letting God just lead the way is wonderful reminder, since we're bombarded with so much different energies at this time. So thank you. I'd like to open up the discussion for any questions for Darcy tonight, and comments and little beautiful nuggets of her presentation tonight you'd like to express your comments on.
That's quite a talk you wrote. Yes. Jam-packed with a lot of information. You are a good writer.
Why, thank you. And I when you were reading, I was just like, that's in there. That's in there. I just love how cohesive, spirit is, when even if technology was giving us a few bumps and hiccups. I, again, appreciate all your patience.
Well, remembering that everything is rigged in your favor, it all worked out.
It did. I kept on saying that as I was booting and rebooting and rebooting.
Well, with the way everything has been going in this last year, that's a good reminder for us.
Yes.
It's for all of us.
It's a great mantra.
Thank
Yes,
you.
wonderful. I'm going to use that.
Please do. The part of it that belongs to Rumi is the life is rigged in my favor. I added the other part. Yes. And everything works out for me.
You wrote a beautiful, beautiful message. And I like your words. It's very musical. I thought you can tell that you're a musician.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me.
There was one time, quite a long time ago, where I had my own version of that phrase that I sang as a little ditty. Everything goes my way, my way. Everything goes my way, my way. Everything goes my way, my way. I am in control today.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I love that you put it to a song, because Spirit loves that. Like I said, Spirit loves fun. Yeah. And of course, Spirit loves music. I do believe too that when we sing things that it kind of like mainlines the message right into our hearts when we sing it.
You brought up the example of Michelangelo and the statue David, and I remember reading something about that, where he was offered this block of granite to work with, or marble, or whatever it was, the stone. And the stone was flawed in so many different ways. Nobody else wanted to touch it. But he went out to look at it for hours at a time, days after day after day, to try to figure out what he could actually do with that piece of stone. And he was visualizing in his head, okay, how could this figure be and not actually touch any of the flaws in the stone. And after a period of time, he was able to see it in his head, which is why he went through and chipped away everything that was not part of what he had saw.
I love it. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that metaphor too, because so often we think of cutting things out as a bad thing, but we only have so much spiritual bandwidth in terms of what we're putting out at any given time. I should say human bandwidth. We have an abundance of spiritual bandwidth, but as a human, we need to be very decisive and direct our energy. If we really want to bring something into fruition, we need to pick and choose. And sometimes, like I said, sometimes those things don't always have to go away forever, but they do need to be set aside. They need to be cut away from what's in front of you, maybe in the periphery, and you can get back to it later. But
I look at it that there's only 24 hours in a day, and even if you lived at 200, you're going to run out of time eventually. So you have to pick and choose what you're going to spend that time on.
Right. Pick the things that make your heart sing.
Darcy, your talk was so perfect for me, so timely. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Linda. It's always such a joy to be with you all, and I'm glad that things worked out so that I could deliver that talk.
We are so honored to have you in this organization.
Oh, thank you, John.
Truly special, absolutely outstanding. Getting so many wonderful things in that talk. It just elevated all of us. It was just so wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking me to be with you, and giving me the opportunity to kind of craft those ideas, because of course, like anything, the teacher needs to hear the teaching. Mm-hmm. And so it was really, Linda said it was timely. It was timely for me to be able to write that at this time because of everything that's going on in our world and in my life in the immediate, and just keep on reminding myself that there is a bigger picture here, that God's in charge. God is in charge.
Darcy, when you go to the classroom, obviously you put us all at ease with your presentation tonight. How do the kids react when you're just having fun? And these are fearful times for them as well, I would think, too, as they go to the classroom in a classroom setting, or are the kids more just nonchalant about the whole setting, the way things are now?
It's interesting because I'm only in there with the younger kids, I should say. I'm only in there, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, for a half hour. And so, it's a pretty rapid lesson, one thing right after another. And that's why I just kind of keep it upbeat. And I guess my goal is to at least get them to laugh a little bit, because I know that there are issues for them. You walk into a classroom and you see 10 kids are out, that a quarantining situation is going on. And I don't have the time or the proximity to have discussions with them like, hey, how are you feeling about that? Like I did when I was online last spring. I would ask kids, well, how are you feeling? And we would talk about feelings, and they are scared and kind of confused as to, or frustrated because, oh my gosh, I have to go in quarantine again because I was in close proximity to someone who tested positive, so I can't be in person anymore. I have to go and be online. So I guess, just keeping, like I said, trying to keep it light to kind of transport them into a happier space, a space that I know is a spiritual space because it's filled with music, even if we're, doing something that's totally secular in some people's minds. The fact that we're using rhythm, we're clapping, I'm always laughing with them. I I'm vulnerable. I let them see my mistakes and then they can laugh at me. Oh man, we have to do that again because I messed up, and then we try it again.
So it's a nice half hour that flies by and you take their mind off things, and just like you did with us tonight, and give them nuggets of spiritual wisdom and love, and know that God's there. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's interesting, just the whole, the heaviness of the world right now.
Yeah.
And I know that you guys probably don't get this, but all I have to do is sit down with my software, pull up the drum software, and put on some really off the wall beat. And next thing I know, I'm just having fun just by somebody's created drum beat that's really silly and off the wall. And I'm going, yeah, that's really cool. And it just lifts all the heaviness,
Yep. Because
I do belly dancing, and right now I'm choreographing a song, and the song I picked was specifically for that reason. It's the theme song from the old cartoon Gummy Bears. It's like whenever I hear it, I can't help but smile and want to bounce and move because it's an energetic, upbeat song. I love it. Just takes me back to being a 5 to 8 year old little kid watching cartoons on Saturday morning.
That's cool. That's cool.
Well, and and anytime we can move, we're changing our perspective. We're getting in a different energy. You're bringing a different energy in. So that's I'm glad you mentioned that, Linda, because, music, rhythm, movement. Was that Autumn? I think that's who I saw on I saw her name there. Whenever we can do that, that can put you in a totally different mindset. And I have used it over and over again when I'm just like, oh gosh, I'm just not feeling it. Put on some music and start dancing around, and pretty soon you're in a different zone.
With kids, imagination is just natural, and so it's so much easier to do it with kids. Adults just, but kids just want to pretend, they want to be right. Yeah, and that's why.
Yes, that's why we as adults need to bring that kid inside of us out to play, right. Because the child within us is desperately needing some play right now.
Play.
Mm-hmm.
So lead us in
wants to play.
Lead us in something that's playful, Darcy.
Who stole the cookie from the cookie jar? That one's for you, John.
You're psychic.
I may have been working on my computer, but I could hear the little talking about cookies.
That is very special.
Is there life without cookies?
No.
Hard to imagine, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to cut up apples instead.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, well.
You can sprinkle cinnamon on them.
Yes.
Oh,
Well, thank you.
yeah.
That's what I do with my apples that I make. Yeah.
The cinnamon apples.
Sometimes I put peanut butter on mine.
Yeah. That's good.
Oh.
So here's one for you guys. Darcy and I have a mutual friend. His name is Jim Sommerfeld, and he was a teacher, and he's also a musician. And one of the things he did over a number of years, and I got the wonderful enjoyment of working with him, is he would take you. Are you guys familiar with Shel Silverstein stuff to some extent? He'd take Shel Silverstein poems and write a basic guitar part to them. So then we would develop it together, and then he sung those with his kids. So this was the one I could never get out of my head. Spaghetti, spaghetti all over the place. Up to my elbows, up to my face. Spaghetti, spaghetti all over the place. It was like I could never get that out of my head. So I just.
Yeah, thanks for giving us that, Linda. Now we got it in our head.
We'll call you tomorrow morning and sing it back to you.
Okay, there you go.
Well, the one thing you forgot to mention when you were introducing him is he's also the tallest 5-year-old you've ever seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why we remember all those commercials we saw. You brush your teeth with, then, on and on.
Yeah.
We're memorizing.
I am stuck on Band-Aids because Band-Aids stuck on me.
Another one.
The power of advertisement.
Yeah.
On impressionable young children who are watching cartoons and commercials.
Good stuff from Goodyear, Arizona tonight. Thank you, Darcy.
You're welcome. Thank you, Michael.